for you. And when you take an attitude that things are happening for you on your behalf, that the universe is literally conspiring on your behalf, just like your story that you told me before we started, Alex, like, having a young child at such a, having a newborn at such a young age, you think, oh God, my whole world's over. Well, really, that was the catalyst for you that you needed to grow up, become a modern gentleman, become a man, get, sharpen your business.
Welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here to another episode of the Gentleman's SHF Talk with Alex Ramirez. As always, I have an incredible guest that I'm very excited to talk with and to dive deep into his story and what he's all about. But before I introduce him to you, I just want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to all of you who have been leaving reviews, comments, likes on all the major podcasting platforms, and especially to those of you who have been watching, listening on YouTube. The few of you who to take the time to leave a comment, a review, a like, all of you who do that, all the ones who make all the difference into you, I want to say thank you. And so today I have Aaron. Oh man, how do you say your last name, man?
Hinde, like behind.
Cool, Hinde. Cool.
Yeah.
Aaron Hinde, and I'm very excited to talk to dive into his story. His bio is a little bit too complex for me, so I'm gonna let him go ahead and introduce himself. Go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Alex, first of all, pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, Aaron Hinde. Most people know me as president, co-founder here at LifeAID Beverage Company. We a very clean, kind of better for you beverage platform, and our best known drink is FitAid, which is the number one post-workout recovery drink in the United States. And, we've had a lot of success over the last 10 years, specifically in the gym market and CrossFit, Spartan Race, that type of thing.
Cool, man. Cool. So yeah, thank you very much for that simple introduction. You did it better than me. I couldn't have done it better. So man, the first thing that I do with my guest is make them a little bit uncomfortable and tell them to walk us through your entrepreneurial journey in 75 seconds or less.
Lots of failures, ending up in bankruptcy about a decade ago. And each of those was extremely necessary for my personal journey and for, building a knowledge base of really what not to do or what to do differently in order to lead to, ultimate success.
Cool. Pretty simple. So lots of failures. And then all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, right? But lots of failures. And then you did your thing that was going to take you to where you are right now. So
when I say failure, it's not, it's not that it's not, in the moment, it appears to be a failure or lack of success, but really what it is, it's the necessary step in your towards success, right? So we have to have complete confidence that things are happening, for a reason. I'm a fan of like Tony Robbins, and Tony says, that life is happening for you, not to you, meaning, we're not a victim. We're not subject like, oh, woe is me. I'm some victim just kind of going through the universe and all these things are happening to me. No, they're happening for you. And when you take an attitude that things are happening for you on your behalf, that the universe is literally conspiring on your behalf, just like your story that you told me before we started, Alex, like, having a young child at such a, having a newborn at such a young age, you think, oh God, my whole world's over. Well, really, that was the catalyst for you that you needed to grow up, become a modern gentleman, become a man, get, sharpen your business skills and get to where you are today. And that happened in a fairly short amount of time. But without that, seeming obstacle, that seeming challenge at the time, you wouldn't be where you are today.
Yeah, changing your mindset, your perspective from a everything happens to me, oh, I'm the victim, right, of the circumstances of the world, of what everything, of what people do, say, of the weather, right, to taking responsibility and realizing that everything happens for you. Yeah, man, that has definitely been a big shift for me in the last couple of years, um, especially growing up in an environment in which everyone is the victim. Everyone is the victim of their circumstances. Everyone is the victim of other people. Everyone is like scared. So yeah, man. And I actually learned something really interesting a couple of months ago about levels of consciousness, right? I learned it from, I can't remember his name, but basically the first level of consciousness of someone is like being in the victim mode, right? Like everything is happening to you. Then and in order for you to become an entrepreneur and start like achieving and start having some level of success, you got to get out of that level of consciousness in which you think that everything happens to you, and you got to put it yourself into, taking responsibility into a consciousness in which you take full responsibility for everything and anything, and realize that everything happens to you, right? And a consciousness called by me. And this is when you're an entrepreneur, you're not, you're not the victim anymore, and you're determined to go after your dreams, and everything is going to be happening by you, not to you, right? So you take responsibility and you go out and you start working hard. And then the third level of consciousness, which is a really cool one, is when everything seems to be going your way, right? When everything is like effortless. And that's the through me mode. So for example, let's say that there's there's two salespeople, and they want to hit a big quota this month. And the first one, he's in buy me mode, right? Like the typical entrepreneur who works hard, buy me mode. And he's like doing 100 calls per hour, right? Doing everything he can to hit those sales, that goal of sales per in that month. But the other one is in the through me mode. He goes to Starbucks, he's in line, and then he all of a sudden he meets someone who turns out to be one big sale that puts him at that goal, right? So most people are stuck here on the first level of consciousness, and they have to go through to the second level of consciousness, which is taking full responsibility. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into that, man. So my question is, when did you first realize this? When did you first realize this, and like what made the shift for you that made you think or realize, like, no, like I have to take full responsibility. Blaming and being the victim is not going to help me in any way.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a little longer than hopefully most people in your audience, but I was, in my early 30s. I had a successful professional practice. I was a chiropractor here in Santa Cruz. Had great practice, high income earner for being a solopreneur. Had 30 new patients, all by referral every month. So very, strong referral based practice. And in the early mid 2000s, so 2007, I decided to go all in real estate because I saw all my friends from high school, some of which were making, $15 an hour, were paper millionaires due to real estate. So I bought multiple properties sight unseen, and thinking that, I'm going to jump on this bandwagon. Well, if you were around back then, what happened at the end of 2007 through 2009 is the real estate market crashed. And so I had months where, I had $50,000 a month in income that I was generating, but I had $70,000 a month going out in expenses trying to finish these homes. And I can only keep that up for so many months, and ended up making the decision to file for bankruptcy. And it was the lowest point in my life. Here I am. I'm supposed to be in my prime. I'm, fairly well educated. I, got 9 years of post high school education. I've got the successful practice, all these things going for me, and I end up being completely broke. My credit shot, and I was in a real low spot. I was looking in the mirror, and I was having a pity party for a very short amount of time. And then I realized a couple of things. I realized look, it's your decisions, my personal decisions that got me in this place in the first, got me here. The whole reason why this is happening is because of the decisions that I've made. And a kind of a light bulb went on. It's like, well, if I made decisions to get me into this, I can make different decisions to get me out of it. Right. And then I started paying really close attention to, what many refer to as the law of attraction. Right. And so I started studying, people that I considered successful, different successful entrepreneurs, some of which I knew personally, some of which I was studying from afar. And like, what is their MO? What is their modus operandi? How do they interact with the world? And certain things started to converge. One, when I was looking at successful people, I noticed there was a commonality amongst a lot of successful people that is almost universal. And the people that I was looking at consistently had a morning routine, right? And so I started experimenting with all these different things I'd hear about, from intermittent fasting to Wim Hof breathing to cold plunges to meditation, prayer, yoga, so on and so forth, and really figuring out, what works for my morning routine. And certain things started happening. It was like setting up my day for success, which makes sense to me now that 10 years have gone by, because we greatly overestimate what we can achieve in the short term, in a week, a month, a year. We greatly underestimate what we can achieve in the long term, say a 10-year chunk. So now that 10 years have passed, I understand that 10 years is only 10 one-year chunks, and a year is only 4 quarters, and a quarter is 3 months, and a month is about 30 days, right? And so when you're setting your day up for success, you set your week up for success, your month up for success, and you continue those success habits. 10 years later, you're going to be in a much different position, which I can attest to right now. Okay. Also paying attention to the power of the law of attraction, because before, when I was a high income earner, I was actually in scarcity mode and ended up bankrupt. When I was completely broke coming out of that and starting LifeAID, I switched into being in abundance mode, and fast forward, I end up in a much better place. So it's very interesting, the psychology. I started really looking at the law of attraction when I was a chiropractor, and I would wake up in the morning and a patient, their name would just kind of pop into my head. And this would be somebody that I hadn't seen for 2, 3, even 4 years in my office, hadn't seen them at all. And lo and behold, I'd be in there, and then guess who would show up that day? That person. And I would go, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about you this, today, and here you are. And then this would happen again and again and again. And it started happening at such a high frequency that I got to a point where I wouldn't even tell the person that I was thinking about them. I just knew that when I woke up and thought about somebody, that I was going to see them in the next day or two, right? It just was guaranteed to happen. And I realized that I'm putting out energy and I'm attracting certain things into my life. So, being very conscious. So what I really have broken down or analyzed over the last decade is, what is the law of attraction? What is this kind of woo-woo mystical, law of attraction that people talk about, but tends to be very universal, from going back to, books like Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, that was, written almost 100 years ago now, to, Stephen Covey's work on the 7 Habits. And, a lot of these things talk about, this kind of burning desire and attracting this law of attraction. Well, we talked about before the show started, your belief system that you grew up in. We all grow up in a belief system, and this belief system is set into motion between birth and 7 years old, when we're not really consciously making decisions yet, right? We're still downloading all the information. We're downloading all that information that we're typically getting from our parents, because they tend to be the primary influence or force in our life, right? And that creates a belief system. And for me, that belief system I would get from my father, things like the sky is the limit, or your attitude's your altitude. These are mantras that he would always repeat in our household, where my mom, God bless her, would tell us things like money doesn't grow on trees, right? And that's kind of very a scarcity mindset, and the other one's more abundance. So I almost had this kind of like dual upbringing of between scarcity and abundance. And that belief system dictates the thoughts. And people talk about, the repetitive thoughts that happen in your mind, your subconscious thoughts, how you're interpreting things, the things that you dwell on. What are you constantly thinking about when you're not communicating? Are those thoughts around scarcity, or are they thoughts around abundance? Are they thoughts about being a victim, or are they thoughts around, being in control of your life and control and control of your decisions? So the beliefs are dictating our thoughts. Our thoughts dictate our words that come out of our mouth. Our words are actions, because we want to be consistent with, how we're communicating with the world. And our actions over time equal a result. And those results are either reinforcing or challenging this belief system that we have. Okay. So around and around and around we go. That's why the law of attraction can work in a positive way or a negative way, and it's fluid. It's always spiraling, right? So beliefs, thoughts, words, actions over time, results, reinforcing beliefs. So if people find themselves in a victim mindset or a scarcity mindset, how do you change? Like, how do you change the spiral from going in a destructive, negative direction to a positive direction? And there's two ways that I found that you can break the cycle. Number one, we've all heard the kind of term fake it till you make it, right? You either literally start talking different, you communicate differently. Because I don't believe you just wake up and say a mantra and then all of a sudden your beliefs change. That's total BS, right? And you can't just say a mantra and make these like little repetitive thoughts in your head change. But what you can do is be very conscious of how you communicate. Do you communicate the sky's the limit, or do you communicate money doesn't grow on trees, right? Be conscious of the words that are coming out of your mouth. The second way you can break the cycle is you act differently. You act differently. I work a lot in the fitness industry. And when I'm talking to fitness coaches and things, I say, look, we've all had that, that client that isn't getting results, and they're overweight, and they're blaming you for not getting the results, and they're blaming their genetics. So I've got bad genetics, I'm never going to get in shape, so on and so forth. Well, guess what? When that alarm goes off at 6 a.m., you have a choice right there. You either cheat on yourself and you hit the snooze bar, or you get your ass up, right? And if you get your ass up and you stick to the diet plan that's been laid out, and you do the exercises consistently, and you don't skip your workouts, and you show up and you put in the work, guess what's going to happen 3, 6, 12 months later? You're going to start losing weight. You're going to get in shape. I promise you, regardless of your genetics, I promise you. So you start to act differently. And when you act differently, you get a different result. And then that result challenges this belief system. Back to the weight loss example. Well, maybe it's not just bad genetics. I can make a difference. Look I've lost 20 pounds. I feel better. I have more energy. And when you challenge that belief system, you start to have a different belief system based on results that you've achieved in your own life. And then you start to think differently, and you start to speak differently, naturally, organically, like you start to speak, and you continue to act differently because you see the positive results those actions get. And then those results start to spiral in a positive direction. So it's really powerful. Now, how does that tie into the law of attraction? Well, when I start to expect, my belief system changes towards, I am not a victim. We were all taught in school. We went to public education, cause and effect, right? Cause and effect is something that we were kind of drilled in public education. Total BS. There's no such thing as cause and effect. It's cause plus reaction equals the effect. Cause plus reaction equals effect. For instance, I'll bet you have friends whose fathers had fathered, left their mother and fathered multiple kids and grew up in a very similar circumstance that you did. But you are in a different place in your life right now than they are. Why? Because you reacted differently to your circumstances. If it was just cause and effect, you would both be in the exact same spot right now, regardless, right? Because it's predeterministic. this happened and therefore that happens, cause and effect. But because you've reacted differently, you've made different decisions and choices in your life, you have a different outcome. So if I take full accountability for where I'm at based on the decisions that I've made in my life, right? And I start to act differently, I make better decisions, I put in the work, I put in the effort, I start to attract other people, other circumstances. I start to get quote unquote lucky because I've put in the work. I've changed how I'm acting. I'm getting a different result. I've changed my beliefs. I've started to think differently. Those thoughts carry energy. I'm putting those thoughts out into the world and they're bringing back into my life. I'm starting to speak differently. I'm attracting people through my talk. I'm attracting people and circumstances through my actions. And that attraction, like attracts like, I'm attracting other people that are in abundance mode, that are taking responsibility for their life, that are open to opportunities and collaborations. And guess what? Like attracts like, law of attraction. Here we go. So, and the law of attraction also works in a negative way, right? We've heard misery loves company. So people that are in victim mode and complaining about everything, who do they attract? More victims, more people that are complaining. And then their whole worldview is, I'm a victim, everybody's a victim.
Man, I'm really liking where this is going, because right now I'm going to be focusing on like studying what you can't see, right? Because there's a saying, there's a saying that if you study what you can't see and you start to, and you put your time, you focus on understanding what you can't see, which is what you're talking about, right? You're going to be able to make 10 years of progress in 1 year if you study and are able to understand what you can't see. And I really love what you said at the beginning, that like, give me the toddler, give me the baby for the first 7 years, and I'll give you the man, right? So right now I'm really focusing on like being intentional about raising my daughter, because intention is something that I didn't have, right? Like growing up, that like there was no intention on how I was being raised, or on how and I mean, and it's good, because like my mother and whoever was raising me was just they were doing the best they could, right, with the information that they had. So it's good. But right now, like, intention is something very important, and like that's what you can use to break the cycle. The cycle. So you talked about beliefs, actions, results, right? And if you are in a negative feedback loop of, you have negative beliefs and you think negative thoughts, and those negative thoughts are driving you to speak negative words, right? And those negative words are driving you to act negatively, right?
Yep.
And then those negative actions give you negative results, and then those negative results confirm your belief that, oh yeah, I suck, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So like the way that you change that is with intention first, right? You have the intention to change. You look at your results and you don't like your results, and like you first have an intention to change, and now with that intention you act differently, which I really love what you said, right?
The intention leads to accountability, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
You're like, okay, I don't like the results, I have intention to change, which you're right, that is the first step. You have to have intention. That's why people say you have to hit rock bottom on certain things to actually inspire change, so that
Hey, sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to tell you that this podcast has completely changed my life in ways that you could never imagine, and I would like the same for you. Look, you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, and the fastest way for you to level yourself up in every area of your life is for you to connect with people who are where you want to be, build relationships with them, and connect with them. The best way for you to do that right now in the digital age is for you to start your own podcast. And I just wanted to let you know that I have a free training that you can get free access to. It's called the 30-day Net Worth Skyrocketing 3-step podcast cloak track framework. And it's going to show you how you can start and automate everything in your podcast, from finding your ideal guest, getting them on an interview with you, and creating an automated content machine in just 30 days. By executing on this free training, you're going to be able to connect with high-level people, no matter how rich, famous, or out of your league they may seem, in just 30 days with less than 1 to 2 hours per week, so that you can increase your net worth, your authority, your trust, your client acquisition ability, and your opportunity. So there's a special link for this free training in the description of this video. Thank you for watching and tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of this episode. Bye-bye.
Hitting that rock bottom inspires that intention for change. So you're completely accurate. Like that intention is step one. And then
You act
acting
differently.
differently. Yeah. Start doing different things. Like, okay, I've made these decisions. I have intention to change. So I have the intent, and now I'm going to take responsibility for where I'm at. So personal responsibility is a byproduct, I would say, of the intention, right? It's the only thing that we can control. Can you imagine if I had intention to change, but I was still in belief that I'm a victim mode? Well,
Mm-hmm.
if you're a victim, it's the new form of slavery, right? It's outside of yourself. There's nothing I can do. I'm handcuffed. And so you could have all the intention in the world, but if you're still believing that you're a victim, then the results are outside of yourself. As soon as you say, well, look, I've made certain decisions, even if things have happened that may have, set me back in life, how I'm reacting to those situations is still in my control. So at least taking responsibility for your part of it, like what did I do to contribute to these circumstances, and how could I act differently, how can I talk differently, how can I react differently, and starting to manipulate the portions that are in your control. We call that your circle of influence versus your circle of concern, right? Your
Yeah.
circle of concern is, oh, the whole world's gonna end due to climate change. My circle of influence is, I'm going to commit to stop using single-use plastic. When I'm going for walks and I see garbage, I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to get off of use of fossil fuels. I'm going to put solar on my home, right? These are things that I can do personally, versus me sitting there just in a corner crying because the world's going to end due to climate change. This is one example, but you could use this example in any aspect of life. But that intentionality sets things in motion.
And the reason most people fail to change, right, to change the negative results that they have in life, is because they fail to change their circle of influence, right? So like so there's people, like they're an ant. They're determined to change, right? They want to go north. They want to go towards their goals. They want to lose weight. They want to be a better husband and a better father. They want to make more money, and they're going on the north direction, but they're going really determined, running on a north direction on top of an elephant walking south, right? And so like how do you change this? And then you hit that on the spot. So you have the beliefs, you have the negative thoughts, all of that negative, and you're wanting to change the results. So that starts with an intention, and that intention and gives you accountability to change your actions. But then you have to work on your circle of influence, right? On the environment, on the people that you surround yourself with, because most people, they want to feel warm and they put a lot of jackets on, right? But they live in a freezer, and that's never gonna work, no matter how hard or how many jackets you wear, right? So like changing that circle of influence, focusing on what you can control, surrounding yourself with high level people, talking to people like you, starting a podcast. I've seen that is the like what really makes the change, because you can have the intention and you can start taking the action and go at it. But if your environments, the people that you talk to, you keep listening to news, the world, you keep on listening how the world is going to end, climate change, and how, like,
Yeah.
no matter how hard you try to be warm, if you live in a freezer, you'll be cold.
The environment is powerful. That's why I mentioned, morning routine and setting your day off a certain way. Like, they don't hold Alcoholics Anonymous meetings in bars, and they don't do that for a reason, right? Because your environment does matter. And so what you'll notice when you start to commit to this is that you need to shed typically your friend circle. Because if you've been in a negative or victim mode, usually the people you've attracted to your life and the people you hang out with the most are also in that mode. So you need to up level. You need to start attracting people into your life, mentors and friends and significant others that are on board with abundance and not pulling you back into scarcity. And sometimes that's family members, sometimes that's a mother or a father, and that you can't divorce your mother or father, right? That's a genetic, you're stuck with them. But that doesn't mean you have to engage them or buy into their negativity. You just start to keep more of an arm's length. And I've had to do that on occasion with different friends and relatives, where it's just like, they're not getting it. They're continuing to spiral into victim mode, and I'm just not going to subject myself to it. I'm not going to try to combat them or change them. If they want my advice, I'm always here to help. But at the same time, I'm not going to allow myself or my family to get pulled down in that direction, because I know where that path leads. That's a dead end path. It leads to misery. It leads to, just self-loathing, and it does not lead to anywhere productive in life.
Yeah, man. And yeah, I 100%. And one thing that I like to say is love your family and pick your friends, right? You can't change your family. You can't divorce your mom, like you said. So, I mean, you got to love her, and with your friends, you got to pick them. And actually with my family, man, with my mother, especially, because I have a journal of love, right? Because I have a lot of issues, right, with my mother. Not like bad issues, right, but just like she has a picture of how I should be that I'll never live up to, right? And like it brings up this insecurity that almost every person have of not being good enough, right? Which now I'm aware of. And like this is one of the reasons I heard on one of your another podcast that I've heard in which you were on. You talked about like unplugging yourself from the matrix, right? And one part of unplugging yourself from the matrix is like not stopping, like to stop caring about what other people think, right? And sometimes that other people that you need to stop caring about what that other people think is within your family, right? And it's not that like you're always like the reason, like, so how can I put this, man? So like one of the ways that you unplug yourself from the matrix is realizing that there's pictures of that people have of how you should be that you will never live up to, no matter how rich, famous, jacked, or whatever you get. There's always going to be like you're never gonna fit the picture. So that's why you need to stop caring about what other people think. So, man, can you, I don't know, talk a little bit about like how to unplug yourself from the matrix?
Well, it's interesting. I'm quite a bit older, I think, than you are. And when I was, in my teens and 20s, if you were to turn on the news would tell us what to think about, right? Depending on what they were putting out in the world, they would tell, that would be the spark the conversation. There was at least a perception that there was real reporting and journalism going on, but they would tell us what to think about. Now, depending on whether you're a Fox News person or CNN or CNBC, they literally tell us what to think. And that's a very dangerous position to be in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it eliminates, it puts us back in that victim mode. And I don't care if you're talking about the far right or the far left. You become a victim because, it's Trump's fault, or it's Biden's fault, or it's the pro-vaxxers fault, or the anti-vaxxers fault, or the mask people fault, or the non-mask people's fault. Like, right, it puts you down this victim mindset. When I say unplug from the matrix, I say it's kind of like the whole not having an AA meeting inside of a bar. If you know that media is being motivated only by their sponsors and how much money they're making and the ratings, because always follow the money, and that they don't have your best interests in mind. Why are you letting them hijack your consciousness? Why are you letting them hijack your attention, right? So unplugging from the matrix means, turning off the mainstream media. You want news, go to podcasts that are objective. I think more people get better news and better thought leadership from Joe Rogan than they do CNN these days. Quite frankly, that's the reality of it. There's more thoughtful conversations going on some of the top podcasts from Tim Ferriss, et cetera, than we're going to get from mainstream news sources. So unplugging from as many ways that are hijacking your consciousness and influencing you in a negative way as possible. That could be unplugging from friends and family members. That can be unplugging from the television, the radio, unplugging from social media, right? If you find, like, hey, this is sucking up a lot of my day and my time, and I'm not being productive, or I'm going down negative rabbit holes that are feeding, negative passions that I have, unplug, eliminate it. It's simple, delete the app. Everything's a choice. It comes back to, everyone goes, oh, well, it's so hard, and I use Instagram for work and blah, blah, blah. We all have excuses. Everything is a choice, and that choice is on you. So if you're not getting the result you want, look in the mirror, man up, take responsibility, and fucking, deal with the outcome. It's the bottom line. Everything's a choice.
Yeah. And it's really interesting to me how it all comes down to thoughts, like protecting your thoughts, right? Because thoughts are things, right? Like every single thought is doing something. And like at the beginning when you talked about the law of attraction, you had a thought and then something happened, right? So like if you don't protect your thoughts by, if you're not unplugged from like the media and negative people and negative things, right? You're always going to have negative thoughts, which are going to lead to negative actions, and negative actions are going to lead to negative results. So
exactly.
Man,
got it, buddy. We're done. Our work here is done.
So simple, right? So simple, man. Man.
The thing is, it actually is that simple. I don't want to like brush over that. People go, oh God, it's so, it's so overwhelming. No, it's so simple. And the simplicity is what people gloss over. The simplicity is, it's a choice to hit the snooze bar. It's a choice to have a drink or not have a drink. It's a choice to go down social media rabbit holes. It's a choice to turn on the TV versus, get the work done, that needs to get done. Everything is a choice. And the more we take responsibility and understand that, then the more accountability we have for the results.
Yeah, for sure, man. This podcast is about to end right now in a couple of minutes. And I just want to have enough time to ask 5 questions. I always end my interviews with 5 questions. So can I go ahead and ask you the first one?
Fire away.
So, man, what would be some advice that you give yourself if you could go back in time, not change anything, right? Just what would be some advice that you would have liked to have had when you were 20 years old? What would be some advice that this version of yourself that you are right now, would give to your 20-year-old self?
Invest in yourself as early as possible via education, whether that's, online courses, podcasts, seminars, masterminds, really, really following and latching on to people that have, kind of already been there and done that. But absorb yourself, invest in yourself, because when you invest in yourself, it allows you to cross the chasm and create income producing machine that then you can start investing in passive income. And that's how you truly become wealthy, is, through passive investments. So it starts with investing in yourself. So do it as early as you possibly can.
Awesome. Invest in yourself. Cool, man. Awesome. I love it. So the second question is around mindset, right? And I know what you're probably going to be talking about when it comes to mindset, but what is like a mindset shift that you've had that has contributed a lot to the success that you have right now? What is one mindset that you can share that has contributed to your success?
Well, I think we talked about it quite a bit. This whole, victim mindset, getting away from victim mindset, taking personal accountability for everything, understanding that cause and effect is BS. It's cause plus reaction equals effect. That reaction is always within my control, and everything in life is based on choices, and the results that we get are a direct reflection of the choices that we've made in this world. Having full accountability, no excuses.
Nice, man. I like it. And I really like the cause plus reaction equals effect. So recently, I've been working for the last couple of months on like my emotions, right? Like controlling my emotions, not like shoving them down, but like controlling them and working with them and really understanding them. And, it's been circumstances in which something happens, with my wife or with a client or with someone, right? For example, with my wife, something happens and I get mad, but instead of like the reaction being fighting, right? And then the effect being now I'm mad with my wife and we were fighting, right? I feel the emotion. I'm like, I'm mad, right? And then I choose my reaction. I stop for a second. I identify the story that I have in my head that is going on, or that it's causing me for that is causing for me to blame her, whatever. I identify the story, and then I'm like, is this true? And then I realize that it's not. So I choose the reaction, and I'm like, oh, I'm mad, but there's no reason for me to fight with my wife. And then I just communicate with her how I'm feeling, and then like the effect is totally different. So
Totally different. That's
yeah.
very mature observation to make. Literally, I still struggle with that today, and I'm probably twice your age. Like, for you to be able to come to that conclusion, you're going to see massive success in all aspects of your life. To be able to, because being emotional is not a bad thing. Like, you're not going to be successful in business as an entrepreneur unless you have some real emotion behind it, right? Like, that will get you through the really tough times. But can also be a double-edged sword. So, taking a step back, taking a breath, not being reactive in the sense that, you're being immediate reactive based on negative emotions or the story that you're telling yourself, but being able to take a breath, analyze the story. Is this actually accurate or not? And then coming with a much level head is going to get you very far, my friend.
And it all comes from understanding that equation that you talked about, right? Cause plus reaction equals effect, and really internalizing it and actually putting it into practice. So awesome. And so that was the second question. The third question is around mindset map clarity, man. Around clarity. So like, what do you do to stay clear on like who you are, what you want, where you're going? Like, what do you do to stay clear in your life across all areas of your life?
Well, the foundation, the building block, I found for moving things in the positive direction is being in full alignment with myself. And we've talked a lot about accountability and decision making and personal responsibility, et cetera. Being in alignment helps create clarity, right? And you cannot be in alignment with your wife, your spouse, your significant other, or your business partner until you're first in alignment with yourself, right? And being in alignment with myself means that I'm living my life to my fullest potential, what I know that I'm capable of, meaning I'm eating clean, I'm exercising, I'm showing up, I'm present, I'm providing, enthusiasm and putting in the effort, like all the things that I know I can do when I'm in flow state, when I'm fully going, that helps create clarity. Like, everything becomes very clear when you're in full alignment. And so looking at, where are the stress points in your life? If you have certain areas that are causing you stress, and I don't care where they are, if it's stress in your relationship or stress with finances or whatever, it's because you're out of alignment in that aspect of your life, right? So if you, for instance, in the example you just gave, got in this situation happened with your wife, and then you reacted and, hammered her and just yelled at her, and you got in this big blowout fight, afterwards, you wouldn't feel very good about that situation. You'd be out of alignment with yourself, versus taking the more level-headed approach and going, how can I show up and be the best version of myself? How am I going to be the best husband and the best father? And what does that person look like? How would that person react in this situation, right? Would they react from scarcity and fear and anger, or would they react communicating and being level-headed and coming from a place of seeking to first to understand before being understood? And right, it's a different person. So, always having your true north as being, well, what does full alignment look like? What does that person show up as? And being clear on what that individual and what that goal is.
Cool. I like it. And one of the indicators that you are out of alignment is frustration, right? Because if you're doing stuff that gives stress, that makes you frustrated, then something is wrong. And like really looking at that, and like getting clear on like, why is this frustration coming up? Why am I stressed? That's when like, that's how you like analyze it, and stepping into it and questioning it is how you get clear on where you're falling out of alignment. Totally. Cool. So the fourth question, mindset map, motion, it's around the habit, man. So what is one habit that you have that helps you become, live your life to full potential, right? Live your life at the best, as the best version of yourself.
Yeah, I mentioned it a couple times already. It's that, having a morning routine, putting yourself off in the right direction and the right trajectory from the first thing. And, for me, it's filling out the 5-minute journal, 3 things that I'm grateful for, 3 things that'll help make today great, and one self-affirmation. It's doing some morning yoga. It's doing kind of a ketogenic coffee routine. It's intermittent fasting. It's doing a cold plunge in the shower. It's doing some prayer and meditation. That pushes me off and sets my day up for success.
So simple, right, man? Man, how old are you? Because you look great.
46.
like your face and all of that. You're a very handsome guy, and you look great. And I do cold plunges, and I have a big trash can in which I fill it up with ice, and I go in it for like 7 minutes every single day, and I meditate and I journal, right? And I've been doing that for the past 3 years. And like those habits, man, they're so simple, but I think that like those are the habits that have allowed me to be how I am, like, and like to be how I am is like, oh, well, how are you? Like for me, to be how I am is like normal, right? So like I almost don't see the value in how I am, but I like to other people, yeah, you get what I'm saying?
Well, they're looking up. They're like, wow, Alex has it all figured out. He's got all this going for him. And what they need to realize, just like you have realized, it's all a choice. Like if cold plunges work for you and setting you off on the right trajectory for the day, then all you got to do is go out and buy a $20 garbage can and fill it up with water and throw a $3 bag of ice in it, right? Like it's a choice. Go to the store today. Don't create excuses. Go buy a journal and start journaling. Like you can get one for 99 cents at the 99-cent store. Like, everything comes down to a choice, and start to make better choices, be accountable for those decisions, and you will get results. And you've seen massive results in a 3-year period of time.
Yeah, man. And then, but it's so simple. So simple, right? So for example, gratitude. I think that's one of the biggest ways for you to get out of scarcity and get into abundance. Gratitude. That's how I start my days every single day. Just connecting with gratitude, connecting with why I'm grateful for myself, for my life, for my family, and then the rest of the day is like full of gratitude. So like like everything that I focus, everything that I think about is things that make me feel grateful. And it's so simple to be grateful, right?
So simple.
And
it
like
doesn't require any effort. All it does is it requires a pen and a paper, or vocalize
and some intention.
your gratitude. Yeah, with intentionality.
The last question, man, is it's about tracking and measuring. So can you talk about like how you track and how you measure in business, obviously, but but most importantly in like your life, in any area of your life, tracking and measuring?
Yeah, for business, we do a quarterly forward-looking vision statement. So we're writing a vision statement that's read once a week aloud by our entire team on our all hands meeting that happens every Tuesday.
Cool.
As if we've already achieved all of our goals for that quarter, all of our KPIs, all of our objectives and key results, OKRs, have already been achieved, and we read it out loud. Okay. So that's how, and then we literally, kind of keep score every week. We're reporting out on the progress we've made towards that eventual outcome. So that's a very effective way that you could apply to your business life, your to life. There's no business or personal life. It's all just life, but you can apply it to life, both in, your finances, at work, and your business, at home, etc.
Awesome, man. Man, I've gotten a lot of value from everything that you've said. I didn't organize the interview to go to talk a little bit more into like what you do, and talk a little bit more about like the health and becoming the best version of yourself and a high performer, which is, I know, like you're a lot into. But we're at the end, and I really got a lot of value from you. So if anyone got a lot of value from you and they want to learn more about what you do, where can they find you, man?
Yeah, for LifeAID, for any of our products and drinks, that like I said, they're all very effective, very clean. from Fit Aid to what I've been drinking, our nootropic brain drink, Focus Aid here, Immunity Aid, Party Aid, etc. You can go to LifeAID, AID, lifeaidbevco.com. Our most active Instagram would be at FitAid, FITAID. For me personally, it's just my name, Aaron Hinde, Hinde, on social, on LinkedIn, Instagram, etc.
Awesome, man. We'll put that everywhere that this appears. And I'm very grateful for you being here, man. Do you have anything else that you want to mention, that you want to say to the audience before we end this episode?
We are all exactly where we need to be in life right now.
God, man, I love that.
Not where we want to be, where we need to be. If you listen to this podcast and you've reached this moment, there's a reason why the universe has plugged you into this podcast and you've come to this concluding moment in this episode. There's a reason for that. Have faith in that reason. Have faith you're exactly where you need to be. Go out, take action.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate that. And yeah, man, I'll see you later.
All right, Alex.
Bye-bye, man. Thank you for watching the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram at Alex_Ramirez 1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms